In the last class, we have seen example on switch statement, how to use a switch statement with respect to enumerated constants. And we said that for a enumeration, so means for a switch statement, you can pass the enumeration constant from the Java version 1.5 onwards. Okay, and with respect to switch statement, we also said that uh, whatever the cases you are going to write with respect to switch, right? So all those cases should match with whatever the constants you have in enumeration. Okay, with respect to enumeration, how many number of constants you have, those many number of maximum cases you can write. Okay, so and all the constants should match with the case of that particular switch, right? If you are not, if you are excluding some of a constants, no problem, but you cannot include any constant which does not belong to that particular enumeration, right? So this is what we have discussed with respect to switch. And we have discussed a bit introduction with respect to how to use a constructors in a enumeration. Okay, so we said that whenever you are using the object, that means these statements, I'll erase these things, right? So this was our enumeration. Hope this is visible. Okay, so this was our enumeration. That name of the enumeration is the month. Okay, so in that particular month enumeration, we had some constant, something like this, and we had a constructor, right? So which is called as a same name as a enumeration, right? So what I said in the last class is, if you are just creating a reference variable, if you are just creating a reference variable, I'm just creating a reference variable, I'm not doing anything else, right? When you are just creating a reference variable, your constructor will not be called, right? So let me just show the things once again. Enum, right? Okay, compiled fine. Okay, so no output has a shown and the constructor has not executed. Okay, so later I said that once you are assigning this one with some constant, some enumeration constant, now in the process of assigning this particular jan to m, it will not only just assign a jan to m, internally it will be creating all the constants, right? I was explaining something like, when you are writing enum followed by month, right, when you are giving this particular definition, only logical existence will be there but not physical existence, right? Once you are using any of the value, once you are consuming any of the value, then its physical existence will come into a picture, right? When I say physical existence, it will create all those objects for you, even though if you are assigning a single element, right? So with respect to this example, if I try to compile and execute, as I have a 4 constants in the enum, the constructor should execute 4 times. This is what we were discussing in the last class, and my laptop got switched off, right? So when you are writing only this particular line, when you are writing only this particular line, logical existence of m will be there but not physical existence of enumeration. When you are assigning this one, when you are assigning this one, right, in the process, in this process, it will not simply assign this particular jan to m. Rather what it will do is, it will create enumeration for you in the background, right? When it is creating enumeration for you, whatever how many number of constants you have in the enumeration, all those constants will be created, right? I was showing an example something like this. I said, like, if you have an integer I or integer something is equal to, if you are writing just this one as an integer I, only logical existence will be there but not a physical. That means if I am checking the size of this particular I, it will be a 0. Once if I am writing int I is equal to new integer, right, Now what we are doing is, when you are using a new keyword, then you are creating object of that one, right? When you are creating object, then only the memory will be allocated, right? So this is what we have said with respect to primitive data types, right? So similar things will be applicable here also. Once you say month dot jan, then only the physical existence of enum will come into a picture. When a physical existence comes into a picture, all these objects will be created. Whether explanation was means supporting whatever the output you have seen. Any questions with respect to example? But sir, we are not using new keyword. Using a new keyword is not required because the enum is a class which is of a type called as a final. So once you are accessing a one particular value, internally it will be creating all the objects for you. That is how the internal behavior of a enum will be there. Any other questions? See, again I'm asking you, if you don't have a question, then I'll modify a program. When I modify a program, you should be in a position to understand that modified version also. How many number of days will be there in a Jan? 31. Okay. Now, if you are clear, once again I'm asking you, if you are clear, then we'll modify the program. Shall we? Yes. Done. Got acknowledgement. Now, let us look it. Let us look at this one. Now, I have shown you an example where in which if I am writing a month dot jan, all so means this constructor was called 4 times, and I said all those 4 times just because you have a 4 constants with respect to enum, right? Now, what does it mean? That means all these things are the objects itself, right? All these things are the objects of your enum, right? When it is creating these objects, obviously it is calling this particular constructor for us, correct? When this is object, when you are saying a jan is object, right? Can I pass parameter for the object? Can I have a something called as parameterized constructor? What are the things you are saying, sir? A bit confusing. What I mean to say is this part, right? Now, when I am creating a jan as an object, I am passing some value. Then now it will not be a normal object, rather it will be a parameterized object, right? So when I am writing a parameterized object, then obviously there should be a parameterized constructor for this, correct? Let me modify a program a bit, then we'll go with the explanation of the program. What I am doing is I am just passing some values for all these constants. Don't worry, if I'm writing a 30, 31 false also, bear with me. If we write month m is equal to month dot feb also after a jan, what will be the output? Okay, let us just check. One second. Let me clarify our doubt. Okay. Feb. This was the doubt. Let us check how many times a constructor will execute. Hope answered your question. Okay. So first time when it is a creating, it will be creating all those objects. Later, if you want to use those objects, you can directly use those things, right? So I just wanted to show that object creation will take place when you are using a, so means when you are creating one element of a enumerator, all those objects will be created, right? So that is the reason why it is called as a collection of constants. Good question. Okay, so I was talking something like this. So Jan, if it is having a 31 days and the Feb is having some 28 days leap year, the March is having some 30 days, and the April is having some 31 days, right? So now what is my intention is while creating these particular objects, I just wanted to just so means if any values are passed with respect to objects, I just wanted to print those values also, right? So that is my intention. April is 30, yeah. Okay. March 31, na? Okay. Right. So before we proceed with the program, let me explain what I am supposed. I means what I am doing actually. 1 second. Okay. So my intention is I just wanted to print all these values associated with these particular months. Okay. What I mean to say is I just wanted to have a variable private int days. Okay, so every time with respect to one particular object, these values whatever you have given, so these things need to be assigned to a days, and I just wanted to print those values. Okay, so whatever the arguments you are passing, I just wanted to consume those arguments, right? So now month means when I say month dot jan, so now it is not a zero parameter argument, rather it is a parameterized argument. So let me say int d it is taking. Okay, so when it is taking int d it is taking, right? Now what is the purpose of this constructor? The purpose of this constructor, now it should be something like this. Whatever days instance variable is there, that should be assigned with this particular d. Clear? Now int, I'll say get days is a method, right? So what is the purpose of this method is just return whatever the value has been stored in a days. Here what I told before was when I am writing a month.jan, constructor was executing 4 times, right? Now at each time, means my intention is I just wanted to print the values associated with these particular objects. Okay, so let me write, so let me finish as main method statements, then you will understand what exactly I am doing, right? So let me take a array month m is equal to month dot values. What is the work of a values method? It gives all the elements of your enum. Month m1 colon m, that means with respect to each element of m, that means with respect to each element of m, each element you copy into a variable called a m1, right? So what is the intention within this particular statement? System dot out dot print ln, what you want with respect to m1, I wanted to have get days method. Let me just check a program, then we'll see output. Explanation. Cannot find a symbol m1. Okay, so what was the name we have used there? Caps. Which caps we have used properly? Okay, mistake. Okay, right? See, whenever you are using month dot values, all the objects will be created. With respect to each object, you are storing everything in this particular array. So from this particular array, taking out a single element and printing whatever the number of days associated with that, right? Generally these kind of a programs will not be asked. I just wanted to show you I just wanted to convey you a message saying that these are the objects, right? I just wanted to prove that these are the objects, right? When I say they are the objects, it can be either a zero parameter arguments or objects with a parameters, right? When you are passing a objects with the parameters, obviously its constructor will be under action. So parameterized constructor, with respect to each object, this parameterized constructor will come into a picture. This value of a d will be added to this private variable called a days, and each time object, that means jan dot get days, next feb dot get days, next march dot get days, next april dot get days, right? So what is the method of a get days is doing? That is just taking out whatever value you have passed from here. Maybe a bit confusing program, because most of the things it will be like a internal working of the objects, so you should be clear like how exactly the internal things will be working, right? So let me summarize once. If you have any questions, then you can post a question. What I said is, initially I had these constants with some values, then I am using a one constructor. Intention of this constructor is whatever value you are passing, right? So that will be assigned to the this particular instance variable called a days, right? Then when you are writing a get days, whatever the value was there in a days, that will be printed. Now whenever you are writing a statement month dot values, all the constants of that particular enum will be available in this particular array now. Okay, so now this particular array will be having a jan followed by value, feb followed by value, march followed by value, april followed by value. Complete array will be there. Array of values will be there. It will be having jan, feb, march, april, everything. Now what I'm doing is, with respect to each element, that means whatever the elements were there with respect to each and every element I am taking one by one. Okay, when I am taking a one by one, objects will be created. With respect to that object, you are calling a get days method, right? So each element will be taken, get days method will be printed, right? This will be repeated until you have a until you are finished with all the methods, all the values in IAM. Any questions? I have not included this particular example even in a PPT also, just because I don't wanted to. For a few people it might be confusing. For a few people it will be comfortable. So keeping that particular aspect in mind, so if you wanted to know how exactly the things work, you can refer this example. Or if you are comfortable by just remembering a statement, like you can put some constructors in a enum, you can pass some arguments for the objects also. If you remember these statements, then it is enough. I just programmatically shown like how the things can be accessed and how the things can be printed. Any questions? Clear. Okay, if you are clear, then we have to discuss small and very important points with respect to enum. Then it will be end of that particular enum topic. Okay, so what are those important points? I hope a notepad is visible. Okay, enum. Basic thing what we have to remember with respect to enum is, it belongs to a package called as java.lang.enum. Okay, it belongs to a package called java.lang.enum, right? Whenever I am writing enum followed by its name, whenever I am writing enum followed by its name, it will be extending java.lang.enum package, right? What I mean to say is, even though if you are not writing any extensive keywords over here, right, internally this particular class, I mean to say, now I'm using a word called as a class, right? Enum is also a type of a class, right? Now when I'm writing enum followed by name, internally it will be extending java.lang.enum package, right? Now the thing is, when it is extending already one package, right? With respect to enum, as it is class itself, right? You cannot write another extends keyword. You cannot do this one, right? It will be some, what I mean to say is implicitly there will be extend keyword with respect to enum, right? Now if you are writing extends again with respect to x, it will throw you error saying that you cannot write a enum, some means enum cannot extend another class. This is what error you will be getting here with the stuff. Do you want me to show that one? It's a matter of a one line. Let me say there is a class called a x. So this particular class, I don't have anything with respect to a class. Now I'll be saying this enum, you extend that particular class called a x, right? Now if I am saying that particular statement, JVM will see it is what all the things it is showing, right? It is showing the error. Enum month extends x, right? So it is not expecting extends keyword, it is expecting either a comma, bracket, all this stuff, right? So you cannot use enum followed by extends keyword, right? Now the next thing, can I write class x extends some enum? Is it possible? Okay, enum can't extend a particular class, vice versa is applicable. Can I use a class x extends enum name? That means whatever the enum we have created, is it possible? Possible. Okay, why to keep a confusion? Let us just cross check. It's a matter of a one statement. Okay, so what is my purpose is, okay, let me remove this particular class. Anyhow, this particular enum demo is also one of a class, right? So let me tell this particular, okay, extends month. Okay, if you are trying these statements means, I'll tell you once, I'll show you a message, then I will tell you what is the statement. Cannot inherit from final month. What does it mean then? What is the meaning of that? Cannot inherit from a final called as a month. That means your enum is not a normal class. Enum is not normal class. This is something like, this is a final class. When it is a final, you are, means what is the use of a final? Making a some class as a final. Intention of making some class of a final is, I don't want to extend this one. There should not be, there should not be someone who will be utilizing all these properties of this particular parent class. That is the meaning of a final, making a class as a final, right? Now implicitly this particular enum will be a final. When it is a final, it is JVM is shouting at you, you idiot, you know that enum is a final. When it is a final, how it can become a parent for some class? Not possible. Clear with the things? Okay, all these explanation again I'm telling you just to make you comfortable with the concept and not to confuse, right? Enum is a collection of all the final values. Even that particular class is a final class, so you cannot extend, even enum cannot extend any other class. You, in a single statement, you keep one point in the mind. With respect to enum, you cannot use a keyword called extends, right? Extends enum extends, no, nowhere it is a possible combination, right? Enum cannot be extended. At the same time, none of a class can extend enum. That means enum cannot become a parent class of any of the class. Clear? Right. I am here to confuse. If you say clear, then I will again ask the one more question just to make you comfortable with this. Clear with these 2 points? Okay. Now the next question. Enum name implements X. Is it possible? enum name implements X. Is it possible? A question in the chat box. Sir, how to write a two class program? See, if you want to work with a class, then mention it as a class. Don't go with the enum. Enum intention is to just hold some constants in it. Am I clear? Can't we write a two enum classes? Yes, you can write. Enum means using a enum you can extend. Enum extends enum, possible, but enum cannot extend some class. Okay, so is it possible to go with implements statement? Does a enum can implement some class? When I'm writing implements, obviously this should be interface, right? Correct. When a enum, is it possible for a enum to implement something? Let us just cross check. Why to worry? I have a interface called as X, right? Nothing has been written with respect to that particular interface. Let this particular enum implements X. Is it valid or not? That is what I wanted to check. If it will throw any error, if it is not valid, it will throw an error. Not thrown any error, so that means it can implement, but it cannot extend, right? So it will be something like this. That means enum, so means when you are writing enum followed by name, I said that implicitly it will be extending what is called as java.lang.enum package, right? A class at the same time can extend a package, that means can extend a something, at the same time can implement some other thing, can be possible. But when you are using the extends keyword, cannot write a comma, cannot write enum name extends X. That means before this particular extends, there is some extension from a java.lang package, right? It is there. Now again extends cannot be happen. One second, am I contradicting the statement given to a Garima? I just wanted to check enum extension. Extends one more enum called say some days. Let it be some year. Enum year. I just wanted to check whether enum can extend the enum or not. No, not possible. That means with respect to enum, you cannot use extends keyword. Means enum cannot extend another enum also. It cannot extend any other class also, but it can implement some interface. Sorry for the confusion created. Garima, are you clear now? Right? So no extends keyword with respect to enum, but enum can implement a class, right? So this is the important conclusion that need to be remembered. Any questions? Right? So means one more thing, you be clear whenever you are reading topics also, especially with respect to programming, whenever you come across some term, right, you should be in a position to validate that particular statement, right? So now I have shown you a different scenarios. I have not written any methods in those things, but I have just syntactically cross checked whether those things are possible or not, right? So you should be at that particular level to cross check those statements validity, right? So then only you will understand whatever the things you are reading. Clear? Shall we proceed further? Okay, one more, so means I'm not going to discuss any of new topic now. I just wanted to show you one command in the sense. One second. Here I said that your enum will be extending from a package called a java.lang.enum, right? If you want to know what are the things that are there in a particular package, right, not only with respect to enum, any other package, if you want to know the details about that particular package, you can write java p as a command, right? So which package you wanted to know the details about? Java.lang.enum, right? So from this package I wanted to know what are the things that are there with respect to this particular package. See, it will give you what are the things that are contained in this particular package, right? If you observe carefully, you have a something called as a public abstract class java.lang.enum, where e extends, see, e extends java.lang.enum of e. That means it is expecting a values in the terms of enumeration itself, and it is extending the enumeration package, right? So it is serializable and comparable and all. See, means I'm not going in detail about these particular statements. Comparable in the sense, this, as this particular class is implementing this particular comparable, you can compare two elements of a enum, right? If a class is not having this particular property, then two enums cannot be compared. Okay, so along with that, what are the things you have? You have one function called as java.lang.string. From the string you got a one function called a name, right? You have a function which is called as ordinal. What is the purpose of ordinal function? Index values, correct? Each constant in enum will be associated with the index. If you want to know the index of that particular constant, you will be using a method called ordinal, right? So as it is having a ordinal as a method, you can use, that means enum dot ordinal you will be typing, right? That is just because of this one. You have a method called as toString, you have a method called as a hash code, you have a method called as a compare to. Oh, okay, so these are the generally used methods with respect to this particular enum, right? So similarly, if you want to know any of the package, you can specify that one. Java p java dot lang dot string, right? With respect to string, see, these many number of methods you have: index of, content of, get bytes, constructors of string, whatever is there with respect to that particular package, everything will be shown. See, string with a zero argument, string with a java.lang.string, that means expecting a string as an argument for creating a string. Character array is possible, character array followed by some integers all possible, integer array followed by integer. This is from a start till a end. These are the different constructors of a string, right? So you have a method called a length, isEmpty, char at, code point at, right? So with respect to any of the package, if you wanted to know what are the methods that are available with respect to package, you can use a command called java p, right? So my intention was just to show you this particular enum package contains these methods. Okay, any questions? You will not get this particular comments explanation in a textbook. Have a note of this one somewhere, because it will be useful later if you wanted to cross check any of the package with respect to any of the methods you wanted to know. Okay, so in today's session we have discussed how exactly the constructors can be used with respect to enum, and how to work with the parameterized constructors in enum, right? And later we have discussed a few important conclusions with respect to enum. Can we use the extends keywords with respect to enum or not, and can we go with the increments keyword with respect to enum or not, right? So that's it from my side. If you have any questions, you can post those questions in the chat box. With your permission, that means if you are comfortable, shall we just go through the points in the slide? all the things we have discussed, just it will be something like a recap of the things, right? It won't take a much of a time. We will just quickly go through the points in this particular PPT. Value method, value of method. Okay, so Java enumeration are class type. Each enumeration constant is an object of its enumeration type. Right? If I'm talking about a Jan, then its type will be a month only. If I'm talking about a Feb, then its type is a enum. That means that particular month itself. Okay. When a constructor is defined for an enum, the constructor is called when an enumeration constant is created. Right? Okay. So not made it as a slideshow. Right. Each enumeration constant has its own copy of right. Each enumeration constant has its own copy of an instance variable defined by the enumeration. Right? Jan value is Jan itself, Feb value is a Feb itself, March value is a March itself. Right? So in a class representation also we have said like month followed by Jan is equal to new month. Right? An enumeration cannot inherit any other class. An enum cannot be a superclass. It can't be extended. Okay, all enumerations automatically inherit from java.lang.enum. Right? An enumeration constant's position in the list of a constants can be obtained by the using of ordinal method. This we have seen an example also. The ordinal value of two constants of the same enumeration can be compared by using compare to method. Right? Ordinal value of two constants of the same enumeration can be compared by using a compare to method. Right? Means obviously ordinal value will be a different for each constant, and this particular compare to uh, is returning a final int value. Right? Return type is int, right? So it will be giving a difference of these two ordinal values. That means if you are passing a month dot jan dot compare to of some other value, right? It will be comparing index of those two. So means ordinal values of those two constants. It will be giving a means subtracted value of those two things, right? No questions will be asked on this particular compared to as per my knowledge, and that is very rarely used method with respect to enum. Right? If the two ordinal values are the same, then 0 is returned. If the invoking constant has an ordinal value less than is, then a compare to returns a negative value. Right? If an invoking constant has ordinal value greater than is, then a positive value is returned. Right? So this is how it will be. TP dot compare to of a TP1 invoking object and a comparing object. Right? Equality of an enumeration constants can be checked by using a equals method. Two enumeration references can be compared for equality by using a double equals. Okay, so similar to the concept of strings, right? The next topic which we have to discuss is the type wrappers that we will take up in the next class. Concept is a simple type wrappers. That means at a one side you have a primitive types, right? With respect to each primitive type you will be having a classes for them, right? Boolean primitive type, boolean class. Character primitive type, character is a class, right? Primitive type is a char, but a class name is a character. Primitive type is a double, but a class name is a complete double d, where first letter is a capital. When a first letter is a capital, then obviously it is a class. Okay. Primitive type is a float, but a class name is a capital float, right? Int, integer, long, right? So these are the type wrappers. We will see what is the use of these type wrappers, and what is the concept of auto boxing and auto unboxing. in our next class. Any questions with respect to enum, you can post those questions. I'll wait for another 5 minutes to answer your questions. If you don't have a questions, then you can leave the session. Thanks for your beautiful time, and thanks for making it as an interactive one.